What up, Vibers? It's your boy Kai. Welcome to another episode of the Vibe with Kai podcast. In today's episode, I'm sitting down with the incredible Rozelle Gipson, late diagnosed ADHD warrior, passionate parent, and future licensed mental health counselor. Rozelle was diagnosed at 37, all while raising a neurodivergent child and juggling life's chaos. We're diving into what it means to be a parent with ADHD, how to live with it, and finally come home to yourself. This conversation today is real, it's raw, and it's full of hope for anyone figuring out how to make life work with their brain and not against it. I want to welcome our guest today, Rozelle Gipson, to the show. Hi, Rozelle.
Thanks, Kai, for such a nice and warm welcome.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I practiced in the mirror. I wanted to make sure I got it right.
You did well. You did well.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited to sit and chat with you. I want to start at the top, and talk about your story a little bit. I want to start with the basics here. Can you take us back to that moment when you were first diagnosed at 37 with ADHD? What was going through your brain?
So, when I was first diagnosed at the age of 37, I was talking to my primary care physician saying like
Hmm.
life was getting very overwhelming. I was still able to manage tasks, but it just took a lot more effort. And I feel like everything was kind of spinning out. And so she was like, have you ever considered ADHD based on what you explained to me? And I'm like, no. I get my
Hmm.
tasks done on time. I'm the person that people call to get things done. So I'm like, no.
Hmm.
So she was like, okay, get checked out. So it took 6 months to get the appointment. And
Hmm.
once I went through the testing, he was just, my doctor was like, oh, I mean, your scores are so high. Like, how are you been functioning? I was like, well, I was like, in life, we got to get things done. And so with that process, it wasn't like neuroaffirming. That's like the new term everyone uses. It was just more
Hmm.
like, okay, so you want meds? And I was like, no, I just wanted confirmation, like what's
Yes,
going
yeah.
on. And you would think just getting taking 6 months to get tested, I would have been like, let me get my life in order because I'm taking care of my daughter with all her things. No, I kind of
Yeah.
just like, it's a diagnosis, kept moving. And then
Sure, sure, sure.
let's rewind like another 5 years where things started showing up for me because I was in that world with graduate school. And I'm just like, these are why things are not clicking. And I got a
Hmm.
little bit more interested into my diagnosis and being more cognizant. I was already
Sure.
doing yoga. Those things have helped, but there was additional things, supports that I needed. So
Yeah,
that's when things
yeah.
got real. And I took my own diagnosis seriously. And I feel like life is
Hmm.
getting a lot better now since
That's a
then.
good feeling, right? That's a really good feeling to be able
Oh,
to
it's a
put like a
wonderful.
name to it, because that's how I felt. Because you were diagnosed at 37, I was diagnosed at 34, and I remember I was looking back at my life after my diagnosis, and like to me, I don't know if it's been like similar for you, but after my diagnosis, when I first started to understand what ADHD actually is, I looked back at my life and I saw that the signs were there the whole time. I just didn't know. And like my parents didn't realize it, the adults in my life. And like growing up black in a black neighborhood, like we didn't talk about mental health, we didn't talk about ADHD, we didn't talk about any of that. I'm curious, was it the same for you? Like, do you look back at your life now and see that the signs were there the whole time? You just didn't realize
Oh, the signs were always there the whole time. I
it?
remember my brother used to always say, Roselle, think before you speak. Because I was impulsive. Like
Yeah,
you said something,
impulsive,
I was,
yeah.
and also I had this teacher in seventh grade. He was telling my mom, like, Roselle's really smart, but she thinks faster than she can write or thinks faster than she
Mm,
can speak. And
hmm.
my mom, she did work in special education under with technology aspect, but she was still
Right.
surrounded in that. But back then, you didn't want to get your kid diagnosed with,
Right.
I won't say you
Hmm.
didn't want to. It
Hmm.
wasn't, it wasn't it wasn't a direction black parents wanted to go into. I was
Correct.
tested as gifted in seventh grade, and that was like, okay, I found my like people. But at the
Right.
same
Right.
time, the
Right.
ADHD aspect, no, that's not something people talked about.
Yeah, it was the same for me. Like it's just not a conversation. So it didn't even like pop up into my brain that it would be something to even consider. Like I had mentioned this in the beginning, but you're also a parent to a neurodivergent child. When did you start noticing the traits in your child that made you go, wait a second, this is familiar?
Oh, that took years. Oh, that took
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
So
yeah.
my daughter was diagnosed with ADHD at 5, but
Hmm.
she had the behavioral aspect with ADHD. that kind of made sense. Not being able to sit still, running out of rooms, which
Hmm.
also mixed with the autism aspect. But there were so many different things
Sure.
that she had going on that were like common traits of ADHD. Then later on, we got the diagnosis about autism when she was 11. And
Right.
then for me, it all made sense. But it shows up a lot just in my how I because I'm now aware of my ADHD and also paying attention to it. Like when
Yeah.
I'm giving her tasks, I'll give her like 10 tasks and she's like, Mom, I can't keep up with those. And I can't keep up with 10 tasks. But before I used to write stuff down when people gave me tasks, and I'm just like, you're not writing it down? But now
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Roselle, I think I'm a better parent now. I think she can agree with me because I have a little bit more patience and understanding,
Yeah.
like, okay, the way it's showing up for me is how it's showing up for her. And how can I
Right.
figure out how to teach her to live in this world with those skills that she can perform well still.
Right. 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 Before, so she was diagnosed
Okay.
first, and then you were diagnosed later. So take let's take it back for a moment. What was it like
Okay.
parenting a neurodivergent child before even having the language for your own divergency? Like, well, how was that difficult for you? How challenging was that as a parent?
It was very challenging. Most
Yeah.
people thought, even though people thought it was like challenging, I looked well organized. I always
Hmm.
tell people the ADHD mind is chaos. It's do 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 do. But I had
Hmm.
the binders when we went to the doctors. I had the organizational skills.
Yeah.
So they were
Yeah.
like, but it was complete chaos keeping up with a lot of doctors' appointments, keeping up with appointments just for school because I was at her school every day, working full
Hmm.
time, being a human. Honestly, it was just chaos in my life. I was just
Sure.
trying to survive every day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
what
and
we do.
now,
We just survive every day. That's all we can do.
yeah, yeah. And now I tell people I'm not surviving. I'm like, I'm not all the way thriving, but I'm pretty much teetering over where I figured out that
Hmm.
common balance that it all makes sense.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, I'm present, I'm curious. I'm not trying to like fix the issue. I'm just
Right.
working with it and trying to manage it along the way.
Right, right. You had mentioned before that it had taken a long time to get seen, to get that diagnosis. I think you said it was 6 months that
Mhm.
it took for you to finally get seen. So what was that like for you? What was that diagnostic process like for you, and why did it take 6 months to finally get seen?
Well, from my understanding, the diagnosing process for adults, it takes a while. This is back in
Hmm.
2017. 6 months wasn't uncommon for me
Right,
to,
right.
because there's only a couple of places in my city that
Hmm.
offers those assessments. Of course, now because ADHD is more, there's more awareness about it, there's more centers that
Sure.
offer it, but 6 months was common, honestly. So that's why
Hmm.
it took so long. But I didn't think it was a pressing issue. I didn't think it's like, oh, it's a health concern that I need to go see the doctor ASAP. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, it takes 6 months.
Right, right. You talked about feeling overwhelmed before your diagnosis. What did overwhelm look like for you on a day-to-day basis?
Mm, For a day-to-day basis, more like it looked like chaos more in my head. It was
Sure,
me
sure.
waking up at 5 o'clock every morning to start my day, organizing it. Staying up till
Hmm.
12 o'clock, maybe getting 2 or 3 hours of sleep, sometimes getting 5 hours. There was a lot of prep in between of life and always living by a schedule because with some people that have ADHD, I know for me, I need structure. When things are
Same.
unstructured, it's
Yeah,
like
I'm the same way.
yeah. And then I need things like clean, put together. My daughter's a little
Hmm.
bit the opposite. So, raising a child that's a little different and also respecting people for who they are, it can be a little challenging, but just learning how to work through those things because I've learned throughout my life, I've been able to manage things because I was able to have that structure, like the cleanliness, the scheduling. And when you have to get off those things, it's a little shaky for me.
Sure, sure. Right. So how has the relationship with yourself changed since the diagnosis? Like you were talking about feeling overwhelmed and like how there was like a lot of stuff happening in your head, but now that you got the diagnosis, I feel like and if you're anything like me, like after I got my diagnosis, I felt like I had a little bit of a better understanding of myself and how my brain works and what I could do and everything to improve my life. So I had a better relationship with myself. But what has it been like for you? How has the relationship with yourself changed since getting the diagnosis?
since getting diagnosis, at first it didn't change. So about a year ago, I feel like it's changed. I'm able not to just be like a perfectionist. I'm okay where things are, just being like, I'm not perfect. I'm okay
Hmm.
saying, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I give myself more grace, to be honest with you. And I tell people, like, I'm sorry, I fixed things before.
Hmm.
That perfectionism, trying to look always
Hmm.
put together, not
Yep.
looking like, even though I miss people, they know my people that know me, I miss small details, but then
Hmm.
I find small details. So just telling people up front, like, hey, I might do this a certain way, just being honest has
Hmm.
given myself a lot of peace and just understanding that I'm not perfect.
Hmm. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you said that because I literally just this week I wrote a blog article on my website about how ADHD and perfectionism play a role with each other. Because I'm the same way. Like the Man, sometimes I feel like the perfectionism aspect of my life, like it has held me back at times because I just wanted to just truly get everything exactly right. And if I didn't get it exactly right, I would either stop doing it or I would go back. I would like erase everything and I would go back and just start again from scratch, which is very time consuming. It's very tedious. And I'm glad I'm not the only person that had to deal with that. And on top of that, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. After my diagnosis, I did experience a lot of grief, right? Because I felt as though getting diagnosed at 34, I was looking back at my life and I felt like I had lost years of my life because I didn't know what was bothering me, what the issue was, so on and so forth. And I'm curious, did you go through anything similar? Have you felt any sort of post-diagnosis grief? And if so, what have you done to kind of navigate yourself through that?
Definitely felt like a lot of post-diagnosed grief. Once I kind of, you know, came to an understanding of my ADHD, I remember in
Hmm.
college, I took a finance class. I was tutoring people in this finance class. They were getting A's.
Yeah,
I couldn't get anything more than a C because just the executive function and the working memory
yeah, yeah.
is, difficult for people with ADHD. So in college I did okay, but I felt like I could have did better.
Hmm.
So like that grief of getting the job that I wanted after college because I couldn't get the grades
Hmm.
or the
Hmm.
score. So that type of grief, as well as the grief of we're impulsive as ADHDers. Some people
Hmm.
get bored easily. I definitely get bored easily. And not having an understanding behind that. But now that I get it, it's like, okay, you might get bored easily, but keep things in the wheelhouse. Don't go from,
Hmm.
you're joining a run club to now you're over here being a public speaker. It's like, Rozelle, keep it in the wheelhouse. So if you're going from running, maybe you go from walking and, just switch
Yeah.
things up in the same wheelhouse. So I did have that grief, but now I'm just trying to be like present and just be like, you know what? All that's
Hmm.
lessons learned. So therefore I can improve upon and just help others. Like, cause me and my friends, we talk about
Hmm.
ADHD all the time and we talk about mental
Yeah,
health and the importance of having a
yeah.
therapist. So we can talk about that too.
Yes,
That's
yes.
helpful.
Absolutely. I cannot stress that enough. By the way, I just want to preface this by saying, to make you, if it makes you feel any better, I'm a firm believer that C's get degrees. C's get degrees. So like, I actually loved school, but I was a really bad student. But I loved school
Okay.
because, but like, and I look back at it now, it's like my ADHD was a struggle. I just didn't know at the time, but it was really hard for me to like even get things done on time because sometimes I would just completely forget about a work project that our school project that needed to get done, so on and so forth. So if it makes you feel better, C's get degrees. I got my degree, you got your degree. We're good. We're fine. We're adults now. We're living our life. We figured it
Yes.
out. But you brought up, and this is a really good point, and this
Mhm.
is something that I preach about all the time because without my therapist, I would not be able to manage my ADHD the way that I do. Like, do I
Okay.
take medicine? Yes, of course, right?
Mhm.
But medicine isn't the answer. It is just part of the equation. My
Mhm.
therapist is what helps me learn how to manage it in a healthy way. So
Okay.
you had brought this up. Can you talk about how therapy has affected your life and your ADHD?
Oh yeah, definitely. With therapy, I did find a therapist specifically for ADHD, but I did find a therapist that fit for me because I always tell people you go through a couple of therapists, right? I
Hmm.
always say trial and error is the best thing. Sometimes
It's
people are like,
like
oh,
dating.
that person.
It's
Yeah,
like dating.
definitely.
It's 100% like dating. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
there's no issue with it. And I tell
Right.
people like, and then that you know what you want in a therapist, be honest about it. So with
Yes.
the last one I had, I was honest about it. We had a great run, but she didn't specialize in the neurodivergent population.
Hmm.
And I felt like we went through as far as we could go. And then there was
Yeah.
aspects that I feel like we couldn't go to the next step. And she agreed. And so
Hmm.
now I'm working on seeing I see a new therapist next week, which I'm excited about because I want to explore my
Very nice.
ADHD and how it shows up in my
Yeah.
relationships and just in my life. Yeah, so I'll have to talk about that later on. But I did want to add with my experience
Yeah.
with being assessed for ADHD, it wasn't like the best experience. I did want to be reassessed, but like in more like
Hmm.
a therapist approach. So I
Mm.
am going through like a new assessment with a therapist for my ADHD just to see how it shows up and just have like a
Hmm.
conversation. I do like how some therapists are doing assessments and it's more of like a
Right.
conversation based than just a testing. Like, let me see how are you able to sit still? No, it's
Right.
more, oh, is your mind thinking about 100 miles per minute? Yes, I already know
Yes.
that.
Story of my life. Story of my life is out. I wanna, because a lot of the people that listen to this podcast are parents,
Mhm,
right? A lot of them
mhm,
are moms that have ADHD themselves and
mhm.
are sometimes parenting children who are neurodiverse or have ADHD. And I'm curious, just as a parent, what are some things that you do differently now as a parent that you might have wished you would have known sooner when it comes to being a parent, parenting a neurodivergent child?
Definitely not parenting how I was raised.
Mm.
I feel like I was parenting how I was raised, which was
Hmm.
effective for my generation. It's not
Hmm.
effective for the current generation, as
Yeah, I
well
don't think it works the
as
same. No.
so it's not effective. And then also leading with I lead a lot more now with, asking her opinion. What do you want? Because I do tell her it's your life at the end of the day. I have
Mm.
my life, you have your life. So we making decisions for your life. So you have to make good choices. Now, at the end of the day, she doesn't pay bills. So I always tell people you always have to reel it back in.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think for me, it's more of sometimes not being so responsive. I kind of take a moment to kind of think. Some things are still a no, some things are still yes,
Hmm.
but I'm being more of a listener and trying to figure out like how can she be happy? How can she be happy? Like that was my main
Hmm.
goal with my daughter, with a lot of things that she had going on. I tell her, school is great. I want you to do good in school, but the most
Yeah,
important thing to me, are you happy? Are we
right.
keeping you where you are able to make friends? You like going to school, you enjoy life. If we can keep those things going, the school will come, schoolwork will come, A's will come,
Hmm.
and everything else. So as long as you're happy, I can work. So I parent on the
Hmm.
aspect of keeping you happy, but then also there's things that has to keep mommy happy. Like the house has to be cleaned up. We have to pick up. So
Right.
I can't be the only one, I can't suffer because sometimes it's like, oh, as a parent, we got to push through. Like that's just being a kid. No, I need you to help me
Hmm.
help myself because I can
Sure.
be a better parent if my kitchen's cleaned
Mm.
up.
Listen, I'm right there. You know what's funny? It's funny you say that because I have found that cleaning helps my
Uh-huh.
ADHD. It calms my nervous system. So like I clean my
Uh-huh.
house like no joke twice a week. I do it mainly because it's not because I'm like a neat freak. It's because it cleaning calms me. Sometimes I'll just pick a room and I'll just be like, you know what, I'm gonna clean my kitchen today. And I'll just clean my kitchen. It like legitimately it makes me feel better. And I found that that's quite common for a lot of neurodivergent people. In fact, I think I might make a video about this now that we're talking about it because I'm like, I think this is pretty common. Like I just like to clean, but like also I have to be in the mood for it. Like I'm not like sometimes my house is organized just chaos, right? But
Yeah.
it's my chaos, Roselle. It's my chaos. I know where everything is.
Mm-hmm.
I know everything is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have any kids. I have two cats, so like it's a little bit different for me. But um, um It's just a tad
I was
different.
gonna add, but I
Yeah,
do agree with you. I never thought about it like that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I know my daughter was making sourdough last night. She likes
Uh-huh.
making sourdough bread, and I woke up this morning. I was like, she's like, she texts me, send later, Mom, the kitchen's cleaned up. I was like, okay, but it wasn't cleaned up to my standard. But I cleaned it. But you're right. I never thought about it as like relax, like because as long as I know my room is clean and my
Yeah,
kitchen is clean, you're right. Life is good.
yeah,
If it's not, chaos
yeah.
ahead.
I'm with you. I'm with you. So have. I say this because I'm about to enter the same age. You are 40, right? I'm 38. Be 40 in a couple of years. And I need you live in the future. Tell me, what's it like having ADHD in your 40s? I need to know, should I look forward to it? Will I figure life out by that point, Roselle? Like, what is, what is life like having ADHD in your 40s?
Okay, so I think about my 30s. 30s was fun. I tell people 40s is better. 40s, I almost
Yeah,
feel like,
sure.
sometimes you don't have to think as, I won't say you have to think. You can say things that you probably couldn't get away in your 30s because it's like,
That's fair.
hey, I got
Yeah.
age on my side. I'm a little experienced. I love the 40s. The only thing is, things start, you feel a little bit more cracks when you're moving around. But other than that,
Yeah,
40s was
some
great mentally.
some creaks that
Yeah.
like you hurt yourself not doing anything like that kind of stuff. You know, I'm starting to
Hmm.
get like hints of that already. But it's funny because I I feel the same way about being in my 30s in comparison to being in my 20s. Because I remember when I was in my 20s, I was like, oh, no, I'm reaching my 30s. I'm gonna be 30 years old, blah blah, like all this stuff. And then now that I'm like almost on my 30s, I was like, I would take my 30s over my 20s any day of the week. And I'm glad to hear that it might be the same for my 40s. Would you take your
Hmm.
40s over your 30s any day of the week?
Definitely. I feel like things are just more clear. I know
Mm,
more like who I am, my boundaries, where I'm headed.
yeah.
And then I'm open to like people guiding me. It's like, I don't know, I feel like
Hmm.
I knew how to do everything, right? Or you don't pay
Hmm.
somebody to help like coach you to the next steps. I'm like, no, I need help, support me. I'm more like,
Yeah.
help me out. Like if something's like broken at work, I'm like, can y'all help me fix this? I don't even try to think about doing it.
Right.
I ask somebody,
Right.
they fix it. Yeah, it's more freeing.
Yeah, that's great. And the other thing that you had mentioned is that you are a social butterfly. Those are your words. You are a
Hmm.
social butterfly who needs structure.
Hmm.
You're a social butterfly. You mentioned how you need a structure.
Hmm.
How, with that said, I know you're talking about being impulsive. So how do you balance that? How do you balance impulsivity and spontaneity with structure when it comes to your social life? Like, do you go out and do things spontaneously, or do you need structure for like when plan things out with friends and things like that?
I do more like spontaneous for going out with friends, but
Yeah.
honestly, so I'm a social butterfly, but I'm an introvert when
Mm-hmm.
I get home. So I tell
That's fair.
people when I'm out, when I leave this house, hey, Rosette, hey, as soon as I
Uh-huh.
close that door, mm-mm, mm-mm.
I feel
So
you.
like,
I feel
yeah,
you.
I can go out walking with neighbors, have a good time,
Yeah.
meet up people, but they know
Mm-hmm.
Roselle's probably only staying for an hour because it takes a lot of energy to be social,
Yeah,
and I just
it
don't know if it's just
does.
with ADHD, but I need that quiet time. My daughter needs that
Yeah.
quiet time. We'll come
Mm-hmm.
home, she goes in her room. It was like, all right, we just gotta decompress, and it's
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's me
I think
knowing
I
like those boundaries and not getting too overwhelmed by it.
I think I might make a video about that. So you just gave me two. Wait, I need to write this stuff down because I'm old and I'll forget. Well, so I'm gonna make a video about being because I'm an introvert too, but I think I can. I do consider myself a social butterfly, but like
Hmm.
in a curated sense. Like I'll give my energy in a social situation, but like it needs to be for
Hmm.
something like worth it. You know what I'm saying? All right. So
Hmm. Hmm. I
introvert,
agree.
social butterfly. What was the other video I said I was gonna make? Do you remember?
Oh goodness, hold on.
Oh
And you
no,
asked the
what
wrong
was
person
it?
with ADHD.
I know. I don't know why I'm asking you. Wait, what was it that I was gonna talk about?
Was it parenting? Okay, I can't
No.
remember.
I'm gonna after we're done recording, I'm gonna have to go back and I'll be like, oh wait, yeah, that's the. But you know what's funny is that there's probably people listening right now being like, How do they not remember? It was 5 minutes ago that they were just talking
It could
about
have been
this.
1 minute ago. If I didn't write it down, it's forgotten. I'm
But
sorry.
the reason I bring that up though is like this is the perfect example of what it's like living with ADHD because
Mhm.
like to some people like it was 5 minutes ago. How do you not remember? I don't remember. I
Yeah.
don't remember out of sight, out of mind. Like I that's why I always have to carry a notebook with me because I'm going to forget. And so like
Mhm.
now I'm gonna like when I'm editing this, I'm gonna have to go back and be like, what was that for? that I said I was gonna make because I want to make that video. So I'm definitely gonna do that.
But if I
I
think
want
about it, Kai,
yeah
if I
yeah
think about it later, I'll send you a message because sometimes I
yeah
remember stuff later on.
yeah. Oh yeah, like even if I don't look it up, it's gonna be like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll be like, I know what it is. I remember now. It all makes sense now. It's probably something so dumb. And people are listening right now. They're like yelling at their phone right now, being like, "It's about this. How does he not remember?" But at least
Look,
I'm not
okay, I'm gonna write
alone.
stuff down from now on.
Yeah. Yes, because I'm just happy that I'm not alone. That you don't remember either. So
Mm-mm.
that's very validating for me. Um, I want to talk about some self-reflection here, right? Because you've worked very hard on self-acceptance, which is something that I'm a big proponent of, right? Just that self-acceptance and giving yourself grace, right? But on
Mhm.
the hard days, there's times when our strategies fall apart.
Uh-huh.
So on those days, when even though we might be structured, we might have a decent handle on our situation when it comes to being neurodivergent, when it comes to having ADHD, there's going to be times when it falls apart. So what do you do when things fall apart and you're that one day where your ADHD just wins? How do you keep yourself grounded? What do you do?
There's two things. More likely, I'm taking a yoga class.
Sure.
For some reason, that takes all the, I don't know, craziness out of my head. I can literally, there's nothing going on in my head at yoga class. I've been doing it for over 7 years. That's my one
Mm.
thing. Or binge watching a TV show that I like. I love
Ooh.
shrinking. I might just repeat that.
Okay.
Sometimes I just
Okay.
sit and just watch a TV show or
Yeah.
sit with a
Yeah.
neighbor. Honestly, I do nothing because I could berate myself like, oh my gosh, I
Hmm.
can't believe I did this. I don't do that. It's just like, okay, it's a day,
Hmm.
it's a moment. I don't really want to think
Hmm.
about it. I'm zoning out. So that's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good thing. I like to watch TV. I'm watching
Mhm.
a show called The Bear right now, which I love. It's one of my favorite shows. Really good. It's on Hulu. Really good show. But I'm with you. I love to like just kind of turn my brain off and just give myself grace and just know that I did the best I could. And I
Mhm.
know that there's gonna be days where it just doesn't work out. Like it doesn't matter whether
Mhm.
I had therapy that day, whether my medicine kicked in, whether I have structure, so on and so forth. There's gonna be times
Mhm.
when it just falls apart. And I used to beat myself up about that all the time.
Mhm.
And I realized, I'm like, why am I doing that? Why am I beating myself up? I'm trying my hardest. And
Mhm.
that that is what matters. So it's nice to know that you kind of take like the same approach. Were you always like that, or did you have times like when did you come to the realization that this is something that works for you when things fall apart?
I would say no. I wasn't always like that. I would just keep
Yeah,
pushing through. The motto is, just push through. You got this. You're like, all right, look, I'm
right.
tired. Hair sticking up. I
Yeah.
still got it. But now it's more
Mhm.
like, okay, maybe I only have an hour to like just chill. But for that hour, I'm not doing anything. Phone's off.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna
Mhm.
give myself that space and then we gotta reboot.
Mhm.
One thing
Right. Right.
I tell myself and I tell my friends, like it's okay to have a moment, but you can't
Yeah.
it's not don't have that moment forever where everything has to fall apart because
Right.
you're just taking like days. It's like take a day, honor it, and then all right, back up. And you might just do
Mhm.
like a 1% progress, a
Mhm.
2% progress. I tell people it doesn't have to be back to 100%. Take it
Mhm.
day by day, but just get back up.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That's the way. That's the way to
Mm-hmm.
go about doing it. That's what I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
Rozelle. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
I
And
be
I know that
trying.
there's gonna be, listen, you and me both. And I know there's gonna be people that are listening that feel very validated
Mm-hmm.
right now. Like including myself. Like my schedule is usually very packed. Like I have a lot of stuff I have to do. I have a lot of content to make. I have a lot of stuff at work I need to do, and I want to hang out with my friends, my family, all of that. And then, I wish I could knock off everything from my just came out. Knock off my my everything on my to-do list. But like even this week, there's just some things that I wasn't able to get to, and for like a brief moment, I was beating myself up. I was like, man, I should have did this, this, and this. And then I sat back and I'm like, you know what? No, I'm trying. And I gotta protect myself. Now that we're older, like we need to protect our bodies and our brains and go about it that way. I appreciate you telling your story because I know that there's gonna be a lot of people that are listening that are gonna applaud your bravery. Is this your first podcast interview ever?
Oh, this is my first podcast interview,
See, you
yes.
would have never, the people listening right now, they're going to be like, wait, what? Like they would have never guessed it because it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing. And I know it may seem small, right? But like what you're doing is not easy. And to tell your story for all these people, all these strangers around the world whom you'll never meet, that just to tell them your story, like that says a lot. And I applaud you because that's something I hope that you're really, really proud of. What piece of advice would you give to them right now, based on your experience and your story, for anybody that is listening right now who is just now realizing that they might have ADHD as an adult? What would you say to them right now?
So, what I would say to them right now, but first, I want to kind of go back to what you were saying about having
Yeah.
your to-do list and not
Yeah.
accomplishing everything
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to say, is this something that I think needs to be done now? Because sometimes you think it needs to be done
Oh.
now, or does it need to be done now? So I sometimes highlight stuff what
Hmm.
needs to be done now, not what I
Yeah.
want to be done now. So that's
Yes.
something I
Yes.
work towards, and that is something I would recommend you doing too. Because sometimes
Hmm.
it's overachieving, and then that's going to cause burnout.
Yes.
So we know that part.
Yep.
One
Absolutely.
thing I would say to a person about exploring ADHD is you are not the diagnosis. Just because you
Hmm.
have ADHD, it's
Hmm.
just you getting information and learning more about yourself. And then once you get that information, you figure out how to work with that information. So if it's like you have executive functioning, it doesn't work out, like you forget what time it is, you have projects that you're missing. It's like, okay, so I need to work a little bit harder. And sometimes those
Hmm.
skills might take you years to build on, but just be patient with yourself. And I'm really conscious with myself at 1% builds, because before it
Hmm.
was for me all or nothing, right? If I didn't
Right.
accomplish something within, we'll say, 6 months or a month, I don't want to do it. It's a waste of time. And it's just
Right.
those slow builds and being patient with yourself is important. So just honor the diagnosis, be open to the diagnosis, but it's not who you are. It's just information to make you better.
Right, right. And what about the parents out there? Any parents that are listening that might have children that are neurodivergent, what would you say to them?
Give yourself grace.
Hmm.
First of all, it's a lot
Hmm.
being a parent. It is a
Yeah,
lot. People tell you all the time how hard it is. You don't know until you become a parent. And most people
sure.
will say that. Working with the child that's neurodivergent, either is autism, ADHD, bipolar, things of that nature, learning intellectual disability, give yourself grace that you're doing the
Hmm.
best you can. Ask for help and utilize that help if you can get the help.
Hmm.
And over time, things will get better. Just being open minded. There's a layered answer to that, but I always say first give yourself grace, because if you give
Hmm.
yourself grace as a parent, it will flow into your child, and then everything else will start. Everything can work towards flowing into other aspects of your life.
Right, right. Look at you preaching today. It's not even Sunday. Look at you preaching today. Look at you preaching today. I love it.
I had to give myself this grace and learn over time too. You know.
Absolutely. I listen, I feel you. And again, I just cannot stress enough how appreciative I am, and I'm sure the people listening right now are of you telling your story about your journey going through life undiagnosed and then getting diagnosed as an adult and raising a neurodivergent child. Like it's a lot, and you're doing it. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people watching and listening right now that are going to very much appreciate the validation that you're giving them. So Roselle, I cannot thank you enough for joining me today, sharing your story with
Thanks,
such
Kai.
absolutely such honesty, such heart. Um, I know a lot of people right now are feeling seen and supported because of your words. And legit, like I very much appreciate. I can't stress enough. I appreciate you and everything that you're doing. And wait, just real quick. So you're in the process of becoming a mental health counselor. Is that what's happening?
That is what is happening.
That's exciting. Look at
Yes.
you. Look at you. Where are you at in that journey right now?
I start clinicals at the end of August. So I
Yeah.
graduate May of 2026. So I'm excited just to
Look at
help
that.
others be
Yeah.
curious and navigate this journey.
I love it. That's amazing. That's amazing. Good luck. Good luck to you on that. And
Thanks.
once you start taking patients, I'll be your first. I'll be the first person that you have to fix. You have to fix me first.
No, no, no. Look, we don't fix, look, we guide
You're
along the
right.
way.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. With that said, again, Roselle, thank you so much. And Vipers that are listening and watching right now, I want to hear from you. If anything in this episode resonated with you, please let us know. Do you have a story similar to Roselle's? Drop a message, leave a comment, share this episode with anyone that you feel needs to hear it. And on top of that, please don't forget to rate this, to review this, and to also follow the podcast. That way you never, ever miss an episode. With that said, again, thank you to my guest, Rozelle Gipson, for being with me today. Thank you, everybody, for watching and for listening. As always, my friends, much love and good vibes. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.